The last speaker today is Kim Snyder, who many of y'all have known or seen before. She's one of the co-founders with Margaret Barry, who's here, of Indivisible New Rochelle. And she's kind of, amongst those of us Indivisibles in Westchester, kind of one of our tech gurus, who is like super concerned about cybersecurity so much that she took us off texts, which is still kind of blowing my mind. We have to use something else that disappears, and I don't really love it. But anyway, so she's here to talk about cybersecurity.
Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to try to do this in 20 minutes. I'm going to try to be fast. All right. And just as a word, for any of you who are running for office or politically inclined in some way or another, you are kind of vulnerable here. So listen up. Okay, so in the room in general, how many would say you think about cybersecurity? And this is personal. This is kind of thinking over. You think about cybersecurity like all the time. It makes you paranoid. You kind of don't sleep at night. You think, any of you in that category? A couple? Okay. On the other extreme, how many of you don't really think about it and you're kind of thinking, why the hell is this person here? Like, talking, well, no offense taken. Okay, but how many of you are thinking, like, maybe I think about this sometimes, but it's not a big deal. Is that most people? Okay. There is something in between. I'm going to wonder, my curiosity is, will I have moved the needle by the end of this? All right, so I'm going to talk about 4 concepts that I'll keep coming back to. This is a non-technical discussion that relates to technology. So you don't have to be a nerd or anything to understand this. Okay, so I'm going to keep coming back to these 4, especially the last one, ideas. Nurture a security culture among your colleagues, friends, and family. So what did I do? To much protestation, I took us off the chat. Okay? All right, people were like bumming out, but
You have emojis.
you know what? I know, there's no emojis. It's very unsatisfying.
Yes.
Okay? But I'm not saying you can't text people, but I'm just saying that particular text change. So anyway, educate yourself about tactics that are being used. So this is part of that. You get a little education today. Protect your accounts and devices with secure practices. And Mika had asked me if I was going to talk about two-factor authentication, which starts to sound techy. I'm not going to get into that, but I'd be happy to talk about it later, maybe with time. Okay. But the most important thing is verify. And whenever you have any doubt about whether something is secure, verify. Ask somebody. Don't just open the attachment. Okay, so here's an interesting perspective. Warren Buffett, at the annual shareholder meeting, May 2017, said, "I don't know that much about cyber, but I think that's the #1 problem with mankind." Okay, Warren Buffett, he's no dummy, right? And, stay tuned for more from Kim in a few months, but I do think that it is the one of the #1 problems. All right, so just some stats. About 600,000 Facebook accounts get compromised every day. 1 in every 131 emails contain malware, which we'll talk about what that means. And 91% of security breaches start with a spear phishing attack. These percentages may be off a little bit. I got these earlier this year. Okay, so how do they get you? Okay, social engineering is the most important part of this to understand. And that is the manipulation of our wanting to be nice and good and do the right thing, right? So you're sitting in your office, someone comes in, knocks on the door and says, "I want to come in your office, I want to use your computer, blah, blah, blah." You're not going to say, "Oh, okay," right? Actually, I did that once when I was traveling. I needed to get my email, and the person did let me in. But anyway, it was a long time ago. But in a sense, when we open up urgent-seeming emails that have attachments that tell us to do this or that, we are kind of letting some complete stranger into our office and saying, "Okay, go to town." All right? So the spidey sense that I'm hoping to kind of inculcate amongst my invisible friends here has to do with recognizing, can be dangerous. You know, how do they try to trick you? Because that's all they're trying to do is trick you. Okay, so who initiates the action, right? Who did it come from just somewhere? Oh, change your password on Google, change it. Really? Why? Is there a sense of urgency? This will expire within 24 hours, right? Is there fear? You might get X, Y, or Z happen, right? And also the type of request. What are they asking to do? And I skipped over authority, and that's when like they appear to look real, right? They're kind of fake. And that happens a lot with Google email. And there is a book, which I won't go into, but The Gift of Fear by Gavin Becker. One of the things he says is that when people have been in situations where they're getting compromised or where something bad is going to happen, they kind of know it a little bit right before. There is that, you kind of know, ooh, that wasn't good. A lot of the time, okay. Okay, so phishing is a form of fraud in which someone masquerades as somebody else. Hi, I'm Google, you need to change your password. And they get you often through email, but not only, okay? So that's what phishing means, right? All right, so this is an example of an Office 365. Whoop, you got your IT administrator has enacted this policy, you got to change it with it immediately, right? So there's the urgency there. It looks real, Office 365, got the Microsoft logo there. Okay, so you might wonder, like, well, how would you validate this? Well, you call your IT administrator, actually, before you'd say, did you really send this thing out, right? And in fact, I think Claire McCaskill's office got hacked on this one, all right? You remember John Podesta's emails? Remember those things that like drip, 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 drip? All right? Wonder why we have this president anyway.
He did ask his IT administrator.
Huh?
He did ask his IT administrator.
Oh, you're kidding.
And the guy blew it. And said it was safe, click on it.
Oh! Okay. Well, you're killing my argument, but okay.
Get a better IT administrator.
Yes. All right, and most of this I'm talking about in a personal way. And one of the things that motivated me to do this was people from Indivisible reaching out to me saying that they had clicked on an attachment and gotten compromised emails. Okay, it was actual real live people that I knew, and it's like, oh God, so this is a little public service, that's all. So spear phishing is similar, but it's targeted, and it's even fool you even better because it says like, Dear Mary Kate, or Dear Kim, or it's personalized. It's directed to you. So that makes you kind of turn off a little bit of your constant paranoia and maybe click on it. Okay, so that's what spear phishing refers to. And here's an example of that. So this again, if you look on the actual link, it's if you hover over, no, it won't work on this slide. But sometimes if you click on this link, hover over it. See where it's really going to. See if it's really going where it says. Okay. All right. So this is kind of they keep getting better all the time, and that's the thing about technology. It keeps improving. Okay. So conversation hijacking. This is where they're actually able to kind of rattle.
I think it's running
Oh. All right. No, we're out of line. Okay. So move. Okay. There you go. Right here. Okay. So conversation hijacking is where they actually get into someone's into a thread of a conversation. So the presumption here is that you've been hacked, your account's been compromised, and this is often over a high value target. And I would say actually people in politics these days would be in that category. And someone can kind of masquerade as you. I heard a story recently about how they're doing it with real estate agents, right? And so they kind of get in there, and then right before you go to your closing, what do? You have to send a whole bunch of money, right? You have to get it ready to go somewhere. And so that whole bunch of money, there's something the matter with the bank. And remember, I'm writing as the real estate agent that I've been talking to this whole time through this transaction. You have to wire the money to X, Y, and Z, And okay, so that's kind of a new one. That's kind of horrifying. That would be bad, right? So that's conversation hijacking. So that's the newer level. So malware, if you just, again, for terminology, this is any kind of software that's designed to kind of do something bad. And whether that's get onto your server, I've had clients where they use like Dropbox for Business, and all of a sudden like they can't get to any of it, like any of their files, because someone clicked on something stupid at home, okay? So malware is often what you click on, it does something bad, okay? So, all right, so I've told you these bad things now. I was putting cat video in. So, all right, so again, the mantra, what's that last one? Verify. Okay, just driving the point. There is, and there is a link to this deck live. Also, it'll go around, but it's also on the Indivisible New Rochelle website, indivisiblenewrochelle.org. No malware in there, I promise. And you can then click on these links. You can take phishing tests. And actually at my job, we have regular tests. They try to fool us to see, like, did we fall for it? I don't think I've fallen for it yet. Anyway, I tend to err on the other side, which is probably better. So there are the links to that. Okay, so let's talk about Facebook just briefly. I can talk to you for hours about this topic. All right. Facebook is fertile ground for this one, okay? I forget how many billion users, I actually got the number. How many billion users on Facebook. People stay in average, worldwide, 2.32 billion active Facebook users. 100.74 billion active mobile users are doing it on their phone, or they're probably doing something else at the same time. Average stay on Facebook, 20 minutes. Okay, that's a long time, that's fertile ground, all right? That is where a lot of this stuff gets planted. I have to go back to the spot. Okay, so, oh, sorry. All right, so avoid quizzes, okay? Let me just tell you something. You're not a dog, okay? You're not a Harry Potter character. You are none of these things. You can imagine, but don't have Facebook tell you which one you are. Okay, you are giving away personal information. Remember Cambridge Analytica and how they got all that information, those 5,000 data points on all those millions of voters in the US, and we're still wondering what happened to that. That was through some stupid quiz. I think it was called Appley Sauce, right? People like, oh yeah, let me see what kind of person I am, right? And then, bang. So does the Trump campaign. No, I didn't say that. All right. So just don't do them, okay? They're fun. It's kind of like I have to get them off the text. Text is really benign. Okay, so let's talk about passwords very briefly. All right, so your dog's name, right? Cats. All right, so what's the average number of accounts? When you sign up for a new account on something, it's like, oh yeah, just use my Facebook or just use my Google. What do you think is the average in the United States? Like 25? 50, fine. It's 100. Hundreds. Okay, so if someone hacks and compromises, that's access to a whole lot of stuff. Just saying. All right, so getting pwned, which is like such a nerd, techie, cool kind of word that doesn't have vowels, right? Like, anyway, so you can look, and it's free, to see if your email has been involved in a compromise, right? And has it been in a breach, right? My Gmail, I got Gmail ages ago before any of us thought about these things. We were all innocent then. There was no Trump, right? I've been breached, right? But what did I do was I changed passwords right away on those accounts. Because you know what? If I was using the same one, like my cat Tony 123 on all those, well, that's a whole lot of information they just got on me. All right, so let's talk about secure passwords. So here's examples. And which one do you think is the most secure?
Great, the one at the bottom.
Right? Okay. Next. Okay, so there's Fluffy. So Fluffy, like an algorithm could do this in an instant. Okay, Fluffy 25, that's what I used to do, seriously. True confessions, right? Larry 1, 2, 3, 2 hours. All right. That middle one, pretty good, but 9 hours. Because remember, it's algorithms. August 2018 takes longer than that middle one. And then I like to eat donuts on Wednesdays, 49 quattordecillion years, whatever that is. Because the longer. So my personal cybersecurity guru has advised me to use passphrases. Easier to remember, number one. And there's also, and it's not time to get into it, but there are password vaults and tools. What you do is you use one of these nice passphrases, and then you put all kinds of, like those middle one, email or passwords into a password vault. LastPass is a really good one. And you don't have to remember them, you just have to remember lastpass.com. We'll send it out. Okay. Yeah, it's a password vault. Like, it's easier to use, you get it on mobile. Okay, so I like to eat donuts on Wednesdays. Okay, so this is my thing with cyber, protecting yourself. Universal precautions. What they do in a hospital, they assume that everything's effective, right? You kind of have to do the same thing today, right? It really is kind of the battlefield for stuff. And it's wide open, and there's a lot of stuff happening that we're not that aware of. And they're moving pretty fast. So treat everything, and get into that kind of culture. Like at work with your friends, and sometimes your friends might be like, why are you asking? Of course I sent you this email with attachment. And say, I just want to make sure that I'm not opening something compromised. And and they hear that enough times, and then they'll be doing it, hopefully. Okay. So again, what's that last one?
Verify.
Verify.